Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session on the new IMP platform. We are recording the first part of this, not the Q&A. If I could ask as many of you as possible to keep your video on, that would be very helpful for the speakers, just to get a sense of who's in the room and your body language. So please do keep your video on if at all possible. So in this session, we're taking a practical look at the new impact management platform. But before we get started, let's kick off a little poll to get a sense of who's in the room and what our impact measurement and management needs are. So you should have a poll up here now. Go ahead and answer the first question if you're able to. Is everyone able to see the poll? No? Yes? I don't see anyone answering. Oh, there we go. We got one person answering. Getting some people participating. Good. Okay, so we've got some answers coming through already. Good stuff. So the first question there is around whether you find it tricky, impact measurement and management. And overwhelming majority says that yes, it is tricky to measure and manage impact. And this is something that I've seen not just at the GSG, but many of the other organizations that I've worked with. They really struggle with how to measure and manage impact. So you're in the right place. The second one is around which impact measurement and management framework is right, and that it's hard to know which one to use. There's a number of standards out there. And again, overwhelming majority is saying that it is hard to know which one to be pursuing. And third, what your actual impact measurement and management needs are. Are they around measuring your own organization's impact, which about 40% are saying yes. Less so about measuring the impact of your investees. And then again, 30% saying that yes, actually managing the impact of a specific project or initiative is important as well. So thank you for participating in that poll. It's always helpful to do these little exercises at the beginning of the session to get people engaged and to get a sense of the room. So earlier this year, the IMP launched the new platform, and we're here with 3 great speakers to talk us through the platform. Very welcome to our speakers. We have Karen Wilson from the OECD and James Hicks and Joe Fackler from the IMP. I won't do any lengthy introductions. I'll let you guys do that yourself when it's time to kick off. For the agenda today, Karen will start us off by providing a little bit of a background and context to this project. James will then go through the structure of the site. Joe will give us a demo, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end, which we won't be recording. And we want to make sure we leave plenty of time for Q&A, so we'll try to get started sooner rather than later. And with that, I'm happy to get started. Karen, over to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Daniel. It's really a pleasure to be here with the GSG, with the NABs again. I really miss all the good times we've shared together in person. At least we can be together virtually, but I hope that in 2022, we can restart our important in-person meetings and side meetings. And David, I don't understand why you can't put yourself on video. It's only 2 a.m. there, right? In New Zealand. I saw your chat. Anyway, great to be here, and I'm going to provide a brief overview of the impact management platform. And just wanted to start by, first of all, thanking the GSG for inviting the team to come and present, and also to give a huge congratulations to the GSG for the launch of the Impact Task Force reports that came out on Monday. It was a huge amount of work with GSG co-chairing with the UK Impact Investment Institute. So congrats on that. So if we go to the first slide, this is just, as Daniel already said, how we plan to go through the meeting. So we go to the next slide. I just wanted to provide an overview of the impact management platform, and just start by saying the platform is not the not the website. The platform is the continued collaboration, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. I mean, obviously, we all know that the mainstreaming of impact management has never been more important than it is today. We're seeing all types of stakeholders stepping up, from companies to investors to policymakers and regulators. There's a lot of movement in this area. As I mentioned, the G7 involvement, but also the recent announcement from the IFRS Foundation and the creation of the International Sustainability Standards Board. So it's been in this quickly moving and dynamic area that the Impact Management Project Structured Network has been working together over the last 3 years. And there have been a lot of things happening within our group, within subgroups of the group. So I'm going to talk about some of those deliverables. One of the main ones being the new website, the new web tool, but also the importance of this continued collaboration around the members that were part of this IMP structured network that have now agreed to continue to work together under the framework of the impact management platform. So these are the providers of standards and guidance related to impact management, impact measurement, assessment, and reporting. So we'll get into more detail about that in a minute. Next slide. So the members of the impact management platform are listed here. We had 2 new members join since we were called the Impact Management, the IMP Structured Network, and those are UNDESA and the Capitals Coalition, and we're really happy to have both join. Capitals Coalition has been very involved with us in the last couple of years. In fact, the steps that James will take you through in a minute are based on the Capitals Coalition. And also over the last couple of years, as I mentioned, as we've been working together, these originally 15 members of the IMP Structured Network, there actually have been not only greater collaboration between the members, but there have been mergers between some of the organizations. So we started as 16, and then a number merged, and they've further consolidated. So I think we're now a total of 15, even with the 2 new members that have joined. And I think this is a really positive development, showing how quickly this space is moving and how moving towards more coherence and even convergence between the tools that are out there, but also even between organizations as and when needed. Of course, we know about what some people call the group of 5, the 5 global reporting standards organizations. They are 5 of the organizations that are part of the IMP structure, were part of the IMP structured network, that really progress the work on corporate reporting. And now 2 of the organizations, CDSB and the Value Reporting Foundation, which is a merger of SASB and IIRC, that were previously part of the IMP structured network, they now will be part of the ISSB, but they're also still part of the structured, the new IM platform. So a lot of developments, a lot of work within the subgroups of the members. Another one of note is the Value Accounting Network, led by the Capitals Coalition, but also with Social Value International, with HBS and a number of others. I think that was also referenced in the outcome documents of the Impact Task Force, along with the Impact Platform, Impact Management Platform itself. So really a lot of great work has been done over these last 3 years. If we go to the next slide. But what we realize is there's really a need to continue this important work. First of all, bringing together these organizations, continuing to evolve the landscape and the system of standards that exists, to look for these continued opportunities for interoperability between the different standards and guidance, and to address gaps in the market. But also, and this is something we didn't do enough of probably in the first phase, is really to work on coordinated dialogue, particularly with policymakers, but also broader community engagement. I think in the first part of the INP structured network, we were just trying to really get to know each other and work together and figure out how to work together. But going forward with the impact management platform, we will have a much more inclusive, I guess, approach in terms of how we bring in other organizations and expertise through working groups, through engagement with the community and also with policymakers. Next slide. So we'll do that through 3 different work streams that we have, and I won't go into detail, but one is really to evolve this web tool, which provides the overview of the existing landscape of standards and guidance that James and Joe will take you through in a minute. Obviously, the landscape is changing all the time, so we need to keep this updated and help people understand what's there. Also, this continued work on interoperability and convergence that I mentioned before, and also addressing where there are gaps. There's still a lot of gaps in the system of standards. So laying out a research and development agenda and a roadmap for how we can work together within the impact management platform partners, but also with other experts to address these important gaps in the market. And then I talked about the very important role of community engagement and policy engagement as well. Next slide. And so the first joint outcome or output, I should say, of the INP structured network and the platform is this website and this web tool. And I'll turn over to James now, who can take you through that in more detail. Thank you.
Cool, thanks so much, Karen. And hi, everyone. It's great to be with you all today. So yeah, as Karen said, I'm James. I've been with the Impact Management Project since early 2019, and I'll be working with the Impact Management Platform in the first part of next year. And so moving to the Impact Management Platform website. So it's a website that offers a set of content and functionality that is intended to help practitioners make sense of the landscape of standards and guidance. And the way that it does that is to outline a core set of impact management actions and then provide links to relevant standards and guidance that a practitioner might use for that action. So before we move to the demo with Joe, I'm just going to spend a bit of time describing how the website is organized and give you some of the background and rationale for why it is the way it is. So as Karen mentioned, in building the website, the partners wanted to make sure that this site, caters for many different perspectives. So either those looking just to reduce negative impacts, those looking to contribute to solutions or have positive impacts on different stakeholders, both social and environmental, and also to cater for organizations and investors of different shapes and sizes, so multinationals, SMEs, social enterprises, etc. And so the partners over the past couple of years, really, they spent quite a lot of time thinking about what the core actions of impact management are, and actions that might be common across all types of organization. If we can move to the next slide, please, Joe. And that circle on the right there, these are the set of actions that I'm referencing. And for those that are interested, they were inspired by the actions of the Capitals Coalition's Natural Capital Protocol, which is a resource for organizations looking to understand their environmental impact. And they've been tweaked through an iterative process with the partners, which has allowed them to clarify where these actions are common across all of their different resources. And so what this does, it provides an organizing structure for us to then explain the practice of impact management and begin sorting through the guidance and standards that are available for different practitioners. And there's a few comments on the left here, which I just want to highlight. So the first is that it's a mental model, not a sequence. And what we mean there is that whilst together the partners think that the different segments represent a complete impact management practice, they're not always addressed in a step-by-step sequence. And an organization would typically iterate between different actions. So they might set high-level organizational objectives, like we want to be a leader on climate, and then move into identifying a full set of positive and negative impacts, only then to come straight back and say, oh, actually, it turns out we've got huge problems in employee burnout, so we ought to be addressing that too. Equally, they might be engaging with stakeholders to identify sustainability topics that they ought to measure. Then they move to measurement and they collect some data and realize, oh, you know what, perhaps we're having less impact here than we thought. So, perhaps we'll prioritize something else this year. So they move back to a previous action. The next point was that these actions are intended to be integrated with financial and operational processes, not distinct from them. And so setting organizational objectives, for example, should be integrated with the process the organization goes through to set its normal business objectives. Sustainability governance does not need to be a parallel and separate governance process. Rather, it needs to be a kind of an intimate part of their existing governance process. And when we look across to financial accounting practice, there's parallels with this circle. So there's a decision on what's financially material enough to measure, and there's the measurement and the assessment of that financial performance. This goes into how an organization assigns value to its activities and its assets. They verify these judgments through assurance. They integrate that information into their own management decision making. Then they disclose, and they rely on the disclosures of others to benchmark and compare against their peers. So the critical point here is that organizations are doing these processes already, and in many cases they're good at these processes already. So what we're talking about with impact management, the website tries to convey that it need not be thought of as something completely new, alien, or on the side, but rather it's a broadening of the types of information to be included in existing business processes. And then finally, on the slide, there's the claim that there's no bottom to each action, and all that this means is that just like any other domain, as you get into the detail, there's a real fascinating, expansive nuance and debate. So just like financial accountants can fight their ideological wars over what is and isn't an intangible asset, specialists in the area of sustainability will have their own frontiers of debate. And so, whilst we of course need the financial accountants and the specialists who are willing to go into that detail, it's not for everyone. And so some people just need a summary, and they just need to know that there's authoritative guidance that exists, and they need to navigate towards it to help them. And so that's what this website is trying to achieve. So we can move to the next slide, Joe. I just want to very quickly, with this overview of the different actions, just give you a flavor of how the wheel would be organized. So just moving down that list, like let's say I start with governance, strategy, and management approach. And to inform my strategy and set up the right governance mechanisms, I might look to the different sets of available principles. And then I set objectives. I might look to research on thresholds or rely on something like the OECD's safeguarding principles, which set out minimum thresholds for avoiding negative impacts on stakeholders. Then I come to identifying sustainability topics, and maybe I look to some existing lists provided by standard setters on common material topics. I might want to make sure here that I'm considering both value to society and the subset that also drive my own business value creation. So maybe I use the SASB's materiality matrix to get me started on the latter, or I look to social value international's guidance on integrating the perspective of affected stakeholders. And then, so by that time, I was starting to think, okay, it'd be useful to have a tool to support this work. Maybe if I'm a bank, I'm using UNEPI's impact analysis tools. If I'm an SME, I'm perhaps looking at B-Lab's online tool. And then these might help me organize my sustainability performance for assessment, and I'll cross-check that with UNDP's SDG impact standards so that I know I've got all the information I need to contribute to assess my contribution to the SDGs. Then I use one of several evaluation methodologies to translate my different impacts into a common unit, so I have a means of comparison. And I'll want those processes verified because it's complex and I'm subject to biases just like anyone else. So maybe I use accountability assurance standard for that. And then perhaps I use the IIRC's, now VRF's, integrated reporting framework to put all of that information together and report it with a combination of GRI metrics or some bespoke metrics. And then finally, I can see how I'm doing against my peers with WBA's benchmark. So that is one route through the wheel there. And of course, it would be not rarely so linear in practice, and it would be different for different organizations, but hopefully you can see how this wheel kind of gives an overarching structure for us to then start pointing out to the different standards that are available. And with that, I will pass over to Joe, who can kind of bring this to life in how it's represented on the website.
Can I
Karen,
just
I see you unmuted.
Yeah, sorry. Can we go back 1 second to the wheel? And I just wanted to point out that the inner part of the wheel, the black part, is really about what organizations do to manage impact. And then there's that outer wheel, the outer part of the wheel, disclose and benchmark. Disclosure has gotten a lot of visibility, especially because of the IFRS Foundation and the creation of the ISSB. But disclosure is only one step in the whole process of impact management. And if you don't do all of these steps that need to happen before, you actually don't have anything to disclose. So, we're hoping that while reporting is important and it helps drive regulation, helps drive behavior, and helps encourage and require organizations to do impact management and impact measurement, they need to know how to do that. And that's really where the platform website comes into play. So thanks. Sorry, Joe.
Not at all. Thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. Great to be with you today. My name is Joe. I am the engagement lead of the impact management project, but will be moving on to work on the platform as well now that this initiative has launched. So my role today is to provide you a demo of the website. And so I'm just going to switch over screens so that I can show you how that is looking. 1 second.
And while you're doing that, Joe, one thing I realized I forgot to say is that as we move to this new phase of work, and as many of you know, the IMP team itself has finalized its work over its last 6-year period. So this impact management platform is now moving to a self-governance mode. And the steering committee of this effort consists of the multilaterals that are part of the IMP platform and co-chaired by OECD and UNEPFI. And the link is also, there's a link also with the ISSB, because the advisory committee to the ISSB, I think it's the SCC, consists of the multilaterals and the same multilaterals. So we're joined up on that end, but I did forget to talk about the governance. Anyway, thanks, Joe.
Super. Thanks, Karen. Great. So let's delve into the website, which can be reached at impactmanagementplatform.org. So please do delve into this yourself. It's all available, public good. And we'd be also very, very interested to hear your feedback on how you are engaging with this and how you're finding different aspects of the website as well. But as James and Karen were mentioned, the purpose of the website is to really raise awareness of the actions of impact management, and also what are the related resources. This is the first product and the external facing aspect of the collaboration that will be iterated as we continue to receive feedback from practitioners as to how they're engaging with this website. So I'm going to take you through the main sections of the website itself, and I'll start with the homepage. So here we have just an explanation of what the platform is and what the website itself is designed to do. The next section here really takes you through how to use the site. What are the different steps? So firstly, choosing your starting point, which is really to understand, are you looking to look at sustainability impacts for your organization or for your investments? And the investment section of this website will be made available in 2022. After that first step, you can explore the different actions of impact management that correlate to either organizations or investments, and then build up a resource list. So what are the different pieces of guidance, standards, tools, etc., that help you carry out those different actions? And then just the bottom part of this, of the homepage, is just to show you who is involved as well. And the Learn More buttons invite you to go to the About page, which we will do a bit later on. But as the website itself says, let's choose a starting point and start looking at the organization's actions. So here you will see the wheel that James took you through, but this is an interactive version. So you can actually toggle between the different actions, each that provide just a very short overview of what is involved with each, and then invites you to go into those actions to really delve in more. And since James was talking a little bit about identifying sustainability topics, there's quite a lot involved in this page, so I thought I'd take you through that one. So each action of impact management, as displayed on the website, provides firstly an overview of what is involved, what are the different steps that can be taken. It then also shows you the different resources that are available that correlate to the action, and then also summarizes a set of definitions that relate to that action. And actually, you'll see here a set of terms that are underlined, and these are really to provide you with a set of definitions as agreed as the working basis of a definition agreed by the partners themselves. And then it will also relate to the several sources where you can actually find this elsewhere. The footnotes as well provide a set of additional guidance. So say this area of explanation about identifying sustainability topics also correlates to setting and revising objectives. And so this is just to easily revert you to that aspect of the website. As you go through this section of the page, you'll see that there's sort of lots of different explanations of how this action can be carried out. Here we've got an interactive diagram that talks through the different materiality lenses to help you really understand, the different types of sustainability topics and how they are seen to be reflective on, on different aspects of your organization or the wider set of stakeholders. And moving through, there's some further explanations here to really pull this work around identifying different perspectives to life. And then the bottom half of this page then lists out the different resources that are available. Each one provides a little bit more of an explanation as to why the resource is particularly relevant to this action. With some, for example, there'll be a couple of actions or even more, because there are resources that may apply to different actions of impact management. And the whole point of the website is to increase uptake of these different resources where relevant. And so you can either go straight to that resource and find the correlating standard or guidance, say, for example, under social value internationals here, or you can star it and favorite, essentially meaning you're favoriting a particular resource that then you can go back to later, so that you can really look at, a full suite of different resources that might be available to you, and then perhaps compare and also build up a list that is saved on the website that you can go back to later. The resources here, for example, are divided as, or segmented, I should say, based on whether or not they're evidence-based tools or principle-based tools or topic-specific metrics, which will correlate to how one could identify sustainability topics. And then just at the bottom here, you will see a collection of the different definitions that are relevant to this action. On every single action page at the bottom, we are asking for a little bit of feedback. So hopefully we're going to be able to collect a real suite of data as to how practitioners use this. But if anybody wants to provide a bit more detailed set of feedback, they can do that via a feedback form. And just the final part of this page is to easily take you on to the next action. Obviously, we were saying that it's not necessarily a linear process, but following the order as laid out by the wheels. So then we would move on to example, measure sustainability performance after identifying those topics. But now let's go into the resource list, having looked at an example of the different actions. So the resource list is here to provide essentially a catalogue of all of the different resources that are provided on the impact management platform. They are available to view according to different filters. So you could look at whether or not this corresponds to, managing sustainability impacts for investments or organizations, looking at different audience types that this may affect, looking at whether or not there's a specific or an agnostic industry focus. And there is also a section here, you'll see favorites. So remember this star function that I was telling you about. The favorites section will collate this like the social value international principle that I just earlier starred, along with some others that I starred earlier. So this is using essentially cookies to remember what are the different resources that you've starred, and then can come back to you later. And then just the final page to take you through is the about page. And I'm not going to go into an awful lot of detail, but you'll be able to see here that it's a description of what the platform itself is, what the website is intended to help with, and also how do the different actions of impact management really work and how you can engage with them. There was just a couple of things that I wanted to draw your attention to here. Firstly is the recording of a launch webinar. So earlier in November, the partners co-hosted a webinar to really explain why this is the right time for the platform, what are the different objectives of the platform itself, and really how can practitioners engage with this. And so the launch webinar was recorded, and you can click here to review that. Another thing that I wanted to draw your attention to was this video here. So as I mentioned earlier, the website is there to explain several core concepts related to impact management, and this short video just summarizes those and sort of takes you through a set of different examples to really see this work come to life. So I would also very much encourage you to check that out. Finally, we, as part of this work of the collaboration, we are looking to provide opportunities to engage with practitioners. At the moment, we're compiling a mailing list so that we'll be able to keep those practitioners informed. So if this is something you would like to get involved with, please do click on the mailing list and fill out your details. And then the final thing to say is, please do check this out for yourself. And as I said earlier, we'd love to hear your feedback on this. And I think we're now at the Q&A section, so I will hand it back over to Daniel and look forward to hearing your reflections on this.
Thank you so much, Joe, James, and Karen. It's an incredible resource, isn't it? And I think what strikes me is that there's no limit on how deep you can go on these topics. And also that it just seems very user-friendly as well. And I guess it has to be, if we really want this to go as wide and as deep as we do, then it has to be made as easy as possible. So thank you so much for all your work on this and for being with us today. Before we jump into the Q&A, I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we'll have a nice discussion about where to go next.